really go deep into that business, not just wide, side hustle or business. It just becomes a balancing act, and then you start opening something new.
Yeah.
And then it goes down, and then so you have a whole bunch of different like side hustles, different sources of revenue but they're all really low, as opposed to focusing just on one.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another podcast episode. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the wrap shop.
Yes, why we started the wrap shop and why it failed in a sense.
So I know we made quite a bit of videos of us documenting the process of opening up a wrap shop. The videos are out there, but we stopped making those videos because we kind of stopped pursuing opening up the wrap shop. And like how Juan mentioned, it was a failure. It wasn't a failure. It was just we kind of shifted our focus to something else, which that something else is our e-commerce business, and we've already been doing that. So just to begin, where did the idea of opening up a wrap shop come to be?
Yeah, so even before that, I think we read the book Good to Great. And one of the important things that it stated, including Traction to the other book, Traction, was focus. And so I think we opened it with kind of the intention of, okay, it was going to be like, it's going to add to our main core business, which was the e-commerce business. Mm-hmm. And so that's why even when opening up, I used to say, like, it's just going to be an extension. So it's going to be it's going to just only add to the e-commerce side. So it wasn't meant to fully be like an operational car wrap shop. And so so pretty much, getting, we're opening it to get the vehicles in, because I think another influence was our social media guy. Yeah. He's all like, why are you guys paying, for the cars? When you could just get them. And I'm like, yeah, because we paid like $700 for a Durango Hellcat, I think. Yeah. Or SRT, I forgot what it was. And so I'm like, so yeah, and it made sense. I'm like, so we'll make a little bit of money with the wrap shop, but at the same time, feed the e-commerce business through the new products that we created while we're renting it. Mm-hmm. And so it was, that's where it stemmed from. And so, and it's kind of exciting starting something new. Yeah. So I think that was also a motivator for us. The business had been doing really good. I think March of 2022, and I think just at least not even on paper, but just in our minds, it made sense. Yeah. And I think it was just the emotion of starting something new, being excited, building the shop, getting the flooring, getting the ramps, getting the walls built, the lighting. So it was exciting. And I think that's just what kind of pushed us over the edge in getting the wrap shop. So getting more revenue, and it's gonna add to our main core business, which was the e-commerce business.
Yeah, and just to add on to what you said, I know we were always thinking of how we can make more money, and that was just a natural extension of the business. How you mentioned, it wasn't a new, different, completely business. It wasn't like creating car parts. It wasn't manufacturing car parts. It wasn't like anything too extreme. We're already working with automotive film, so it just naturally made sense to pursue a wrap shop to get in the cars and to get the fitments and make a little extra money, like you said. But even though it was a natural extension of the business, technically it's almost as starting a new business. Yes. Because I know starting a wrap shop, it's kind of like starting any automotive service business. You have to get your customers, you have to set up your shop, you have to get workers, you need to become knowledgeable in the service you're doing. So in and of itself, it's kind of like starting a new business. And that's kind of like where we realized that, it was going to be a lot different than it actually was.
No, yeah, so definitely we looked at it as, it's going to add to our main business, but it's adding a completely different business. So, and it kind of, that's where we saw that.
Yeah, and the idea came to be around March. And around that time, I think we completely decided to jump all in opening up the shop. And when we say wrap shop, it included, it wasn't really like vinyl wrap. It was more of paint protection film and window tint. And so I know we went, one of the first things we did was we went to go get training. We ourselves got training online, and then some of our workers went for in-shop person. So we invested heavily in opening up the shop. We invested in training, like you mentioned, the walls, everything else that came with it. And little by little, we started getting people. We started working on our own cars. We started working on the workers' cars. And eventually we started actually accepting like other people that weren't immediate like workers or ourselves. I know we were advertising it on social media that we're opening up a wrap shop, and I know like people started like hitting me up saying, hey, like, could you do my window tints? Like, and I know we started getting a little bit of customers coming in. And so it was just naturally progressing. We were posting more on social media. People were starting to come in, and we were also gaining experience. So it was kind of like building up a little bit of traction.
No, yeah, definitely it was. But then we also saw the kind of the negative effects of it. It was kind of eating at our main core business, or at least the very least taking attention away from our core business. And so that's one of the things that I saw happening.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which leads me to my next question is like, we kind of went all in opening up the wrap shop. We invested in the flooring, the walls, which was relatively like expensive.
Yeah,
it was a few thousands of dollars. Not hundred of that. It was a few $100.
Okay.
And then the walls, like the most expensive was the labor, which was like $2,000, and then the flooring was an extra like $2,000. So it was like roughly like 4,000.
No, I did the math, and it was 10 or 15,000.
It was 10 or 15,000.
Yeah.
Like with everything. So we invested all that. So because we invested like that much money, we were already putting ourselves out there that we were opening up a wrap shop. Why did we decide to kind of like hold it back or not pursue it completely?
I think, well, kind of like how I had mentioned, I think it was taken away from our core business. The main thing was the manpower.
Yes.
So for example, we had people that are working on the e-commerce side, but then we had to take them to the wrap shop side. And then so the guy kind of took away from the e-commerce side. And so also with that, we saw granted, you could say it was the economy, it was different factors, but we saw kind of like the sales of the e-commerce side kind of like this, and then little by little just going down.
Yep.
And then around that time also, I just ran into, or just came about Alex Hermosi. And I know before, like we knew that focus was super important, reading all the books and all that, and videos. Focus is super important. I think sometimes you have to go through things to fully understand them.
Yep.
I mean, when you read them, it makes sense and you understand it, but once you really go through them, you really understand it.
Yep.
And so, but which, if anything, it would have been smart of us to just, read it or seen it in a video, and then, just follow through. But for us, it's been the case that a lot of the times we have to go through things to be able to like really understand them.
And just to elaborate on that, our e-commerce business, the business that we were doing at the time, it was already generating 7 figures. And to start the wrap shop, it's kind of like starting a new business, starting from scratch and everything. So like that 7-figure a year business was, little by little the sales were going down to try to make more money with the wrap shop. So it's kind of like eventually like this is the e-commerce business, this is the wrap shop. So it's kind of like a scale, and like eventually it was going to meet in the middle. So our e-commerce business was going to go down, but the revenue from the wrap shop, it was going to kind of like balance it out. So it's kind of like where we started. So we kind of like, that's one of the things we also saw. So it just made more sense. Okay, we already have a 7-figure a year e-commerce business. Might as well just focus 100% of our attention to it. Continue doing what was already working, which was the e-commerce business, and just focus everything we have.
Yeah, and so like going back to, I think Alex Hermosi kind of opened at least looking at him, my eyes, it's kind of actually look and evaluate the situation, and I think that's how we came about that conclusion.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess my next question is, what are some of the lessons we learned? Because I know how you mentioned that if we would have caught the lesson like within the video instead of experiencing it ourselves, it would have saved us a lot of money and a lot of time. But like overall, what are some of the lessons moving forward? Maybe that's something the listener or the viewer could, maybe it could help them with.
Yeah, I think focus. I think it's the main lesson that we learned. And I know we probably should have learned that, just, reading from like the books and experiences from other people. So I think focus is super important, something that we've learned, because just to kind of give an example, like when we actually started focusing on our e-commerce business, you could see like, like the sales starting going down. January was, still down, but then you start seeing February, March, even after tax season, it's still going up. And so like even now through May, it's still a lot more than last year's and probably the year before that.
Yep.
And so once we started focusing, doing what we had been doing that had been working for our e-commerce business, we just started seeing the result. And so so that's just to give an example as to, when you focus actually on your business, something that has been working, something that you're really good at, that it's a lot better than having, opening another section of, like, say, or another business and then have that generate income, because then pretty much the attention you're taking away the attention from your main core business that you're good at and then giving it to the new business. And so it's kind of like how you mentioned, like, this is your core business, something like extra revenue. And then like you put more attention here, it starts going up, but then this starts going down, and then it just becomes a balancing act, and then you start opening something new.
Yeah.
And then it goes down. And then so you have a whole bunch of different like side hustles, different sources of revenue but they're all really low, as opposed to focusing just on one, something that you're really good at, and just, you know, going all in on that. And so focus, I think, is the main lesson that we learned. On your end, what are some key takeaways from you from, you know, that car wrap experience?
For me, it's pretty much the same focus, because for ourselves, our e-commerce business already had traction. It already had like the customer base. It already had the sales. It already had the people. It already had the systems in place. So because of that, if we continue just perfecting it, making it even better, like it's just gonna like compound on itself.
Well, yeah, it's just gonna compound. Kind of like, well, what's happening right now. Like, this is probably gonna be our best year ever.
Yeah.
This, in spite of you know, a bad economy, in spite of the automotive industry not doing that well, you know, overpriced cars, people losing their jobs and not being able to pay their cars, a lot of repos. In spite of all that, and we're in that industry, in the e-commerce automotive industry. In spite of all that, it's gonna be our best year.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're focusing on what we're
on
doing.
one thing. Yeah. On one thing that works. We know it works. Yeah, and it's kind of like, I bring it back to sports. If, you know, you're good at football, if you're good at basketball, and you're good at soccer, you know, you focus on all three, you're going to be decent on all of them. Instead of, you know, focusing on one thing that, you know, you're the best at, that you really like, for example, soccer. If you really focus on that, like just 100% of your energy, just take away basketball, just take away football, train 100% for soccer, you're eventually going to become good enough. It's the same thing with, like, if you already have a, you know, successful business, just improve it, you know, like improve the marketing, improve the different sales channel, like improve the social media, improve the email marketing, just improve everything. And little by little, it's just going to compound on itself. Just by focusing on your one business, like, you'll be successful.
Yeah, because I even think of like our e-commerce business, like there's some sales channels that we don't even advertise on, and it just pops up. It's just because the amount of work that we're putting into, the amount of, like, not necessarily marketing, but the amount more products that we have is just like compounding on each other. And then people are asking us for like different things. Like, we've had companies reach out to us, or like big companies, manufacturing companies, to pretty much see if we could kind of work together in a way that to offer some of our products to their like vehicles, golf carts.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you just focus on it, it'll compound, like how you were mentioning, it'll compound. So, but it was a good experience because we were not at a big stage where we kind of like went all in on a part. So like, let's say we were, and it always happens to us where it's kind of, we almost get lucky in a lot of cases, because when we fell at a relatively small scale. Yeah,
just enough to where it stinks, but it doesn't affect us like really bad.
Yeah, because I imagine, let's say we were bigger, and then we saw this opportunity, and then like put a lot of resources, time. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
We could have had a whole bunch of people already there, having to let them go, and then all the money lost. Yeah, so fail fast. I think it's a key takeaway too. Whenever you do something, I think it's good to, like, if it's gonna succeed, but if it's gonna fail, it's good to fail fast.
Yeah, which it doesn't mean we won't have a wrap shop in the future. It's just not right now. We're gonna focus the next few years 100% on our e-commerce business, and eventually, like, once it's on its own, we don't have to take any resources away from the e-commerce business, any manpower, any time, people's time. Maybe, eventually, like, because it's still part of the kind of like the ecosystem of businesses we're in, maybe we could also do a wrap shop, or maybe not. But it's just a natural progression of business. We're going to focus 100% on our e-commerce business, and then just see where the next ventures are at. If at all.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that's very unpredictable in the future, because we think a lot of things that we think this is going to happen, but it really never happens that specific way.
Yeah.
It tends to be the case, but things don't always go 100% as you plan them.
Yeah, like with this business, we had the idea if we were going to continue working our jobs, and eventually we were going to start something new. But we ended up starting this business, and it just took off. We had no idea it was going to get to this stage.
Yeah, I remember kind of like in 2018, we were thinking like it's going to take us a few years to kind of get out of the debt that we were in, and kind of like the struggles that we were in. Turns out that it was 1-2 years, and boom, it just exploded, and we were good. So like, even things could go in our favor without even knowing it.
Yeah, but with this, it's just I guess the main takeaway from this is just focus.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
Yeah, focus. If you have something that you're good at, you're working at, it's producing you money, focus on it, continue focusing on it, and don't have another. I'm not saying to not have another side hustle, but really focus on it. Kind of exhaust all the sales channels, exhaust all the marketing, kind of like just really go deep into that business, not just wide, side hustle or business. Go deep in that business. There's, kind of like for our e-commerce, there's, the different marketplaces like, let's say Amazon, eBay, Etsy, but then there's also like social media.
Yep.
And then there's paid advertising.
Yep.
And then there's like sponsorship, like kind of like working with influencers. It's so many different things that you can actually do to improve that core business. And I feel like if you focus on your business, it's a lot better than having so many other different sources of revenue.
Yeah, and it's for any business. You could be a service-based business. You could be a product-based business. You could be any type of business, detailing business, lawn care business, social media business, marketing business. But yeah, just focus on your business, and with that, you'll be good.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's our car wrap. Pretty much opening up another business, which was the car wrap shop.
And by car wrap shop, it's mainly paint protection film and window tint.
Yeah, so pretty much a what do you call it? I forgot what you call those business, but yeah, it was paint protection film and tint. And then if someone asked for it, a wrap. So with that, in the comments, let us know some of the key takeaways and if it was of any value to you, because it definitely was to us. At least that experience was, taught us a lot.
Yeah. Now we know not to do it at a bigger stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, thank you guys for watching. And my name is Alexis.
And then my name is Juan.
And we'll see you on the next episode.